Hey everyone, welcome back to Blue Bob's the Gaming CPA's channel. Today is a topic I've wanted to talk about for a while and I've been meaning to do a video, but it wasn't until a colleague of mine actually asked me the question, when should I approach a CPA to do my taxes, that I figured I should just put out the video. It's good advice and it's my personal recommendation to you about whether or not you should hire a CPA, because in certain times of life you don't really need one, and in certain times of life it might be beneficial to have one. You might not know when that is, so hopefully this video will kind of help, I guess, iron the confusion out and maybe help you make a better decision about if or you should or should not hire a CPA. So for the most part, I would say when not to hire a CPA. If you are a W-2 employee, and you either rent or have a house that you have interest payments that aren't super high, you should be totally fine to get by without hiring a CPA and using a tax software like TurboTax or even like an H&R Block. If you use TurboTax, you might even be able to file free if you're just a W-2 employee, so that's good. And then they also will prompt you with good tax saving tips if you consider them, or if they would be beneficial to you if you have the funds available. So that's one where I would say if you're just a W-2, probably don't need to consult the CPA. If you are a Schedule C, meaning you have a small business or rental properties, this is where I'm going to say it's borderline up to you. Okay, it's really up to you and whether you're comfortable. All right, if your business doesn't have too many expenses or your rental property really doesn't have a whole lot, it's property taxes, it's insurance. If it's being managed by someone else, you have property management fees, maybe utilities unless the tenant has them. Other than that, there's not a whole lot, and you're comfortable with it, then you're fine. You don't need a CPA. If your business, you buy some inventory, you have a couple different advertising costs. Maybe you have a certain equipment that you purchase, and stuff like that, and there's not a whole lot, and you're comfortable with it, or you're comfortable researching it. Don't necessarily worry about it. If you're have multiple rental properties and you're trying to maximize your deductions, at that point it might be good to get some recommendations from a CPA, or consult one. Or if your business starts to make $50,000 a year, $70,000, like starts to actually make good money, and now you're seeing your taxes go up and up and up quite drastically, then that might also be a good time to consult a CPA, and get their advice as far as whether or not you should come in. And most CPA firms will be honest. The one I worked at before going to my current job as a financial analyst, we were honest with people and we would be like, no, you don't need a CPA. You're okay. You don't need our accounting firm to do your taxes. You can do these on your own. It's very simple. Or there were times where they would come in and we'd be like, yeah, it might be smart to sit down with us and have us do your taxes, and we can go run through different scenarios and give you different options to possibly have some tax savings and stuff like that. So again, if you're small and it's small and fairly simple and you can do it yourself, do it yourself. If you're comfortable with the research, do it yourself. If you start to get to the point where it's getting bigger and you feel like you might be missing out on deductions or possible tax savings, because there always are tax savings, there really always is options, then consult a CPA. Normally they'll give you a free hour at least, like come in and sit down with them and talk with them about your business or where you're at. And so I recommend doing that. If you own like a partnership, an S corporation, um, I mean, not necessarily just an LLC, but a corporation or a partnership, at that point, I might recommend more of having a CPA, because frankly, to create those, you're going to need possibly a lawyer, and a CPA would be my recommendation to even create those businesses. If you're able to do it on your own, I mean, kudos to you, but there are legal implications as well as tax implications. So just a heads up, if you're forming a partnership or an S corp, C corp, any of those corporations, I would highly recommend a CPA. Just again, to make sure things are done correctly. If it's a 50-50 partnership, you want to make sure it's split 50-50. If it's an S corporation, you want to make sure that things are done correctly and set up correctly to just make it easier for you and less stressful. So I would say before starting those, consult a CPA firm. All right, consult a CPA. It might cost you a little bit of money up front, but trust me, the headache will be saved financially, later, because there's nothing worse than not setting something up correctly, having to go back and try to retroactively apply certain things. And the government, you guys, they're not the easiest to work with sometimes. So just doing the money up front, setting things up correctly up front is just going to save you a world of headaches. So if you're doing a partnership or a corporation with a C corporation or an S corporation, which frankly, I mean, S corporations, these pass-through entities, partnerships, they have good tax benefits. So if you are a small business and you're like, one of the recommendations might be like, hey, you're making X amount of money, form an S corporation. Save yourself X amount on payroll taxes when you pay yourself wages as a business owner or something like that. And then take the distributions tax free. So a lot of different things. If you ever have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email, I think, is in my YouTube profile, or even if you want to hit me up in the comments below as well. I generally read those and respond to those as much and as quickly as possible. So if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, please feel free to reach out. But kind of a recap is if you are a W-2 employee, and that's all you really have, you should be able to do your own taxes, no problem. And if you use a tax software, it'll probably recommend different tax savings like contributing to an IRA. Traditional or a Roth might get you a little bit, not as much, possibly setting up an HSA account and different things like that. If you have a small business or just a small one rental or two, you might be able to do that yourself as well. If the expenses aren't too complicated, if you want to go ahead and consult a CPA and have a CPA firm do your taxes at that point, or even as just a W-2 employee, that's totally fine. Like there is no problem doing that. And because, if you're a small Schedule C, they might still be able to find little tax deductions and tax savings like business use of home. Are you using the square footage in your house or for a certain office that is used strictly for business? And tax savings like that. So, and then lastly, if you're a partnership, if you're a corporation, C Corp, or an S Corp, I would highly recommend consulting an accounting firm, as well as they will probably recommend a law firm to help kind of draft up the documents to start the business as well. So thank you guys again so much for watching. If you liked the video and want to give it a thumbs up, that would be much appreciated, and kind of tell YouTube, hey, people should definitely check this guy out. He has got some good knowledge, some good advice. And if you want to hit the subscribe button to really support the channel, hit the notification bell as well so you get notified when I post more videos and or go live. That would be truly appreciated on my end and really support the small streamer and the small channel. So thanks again, you guys, so much. And as the Gaming CPA always says, maximize those deductions and pay less in taxes. Have a good night, everyone.